Good afternoon to you. It's 5:07 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us. 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL.
Wrong! Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. I'm going
Yeah, that's the lamentation of the women all over TikTok this week. The Democrat women, not the good ones. The Democrats freaking out over the conclusion of the 2024 election going Trump's way, going America's way. Here to talk about that, a guy who loves crushing his enemies, Kurt Schlichter, Townhall Senior columnist, retired infantry Army colonel, author of the book We'll Be Back, The Fall and Rise of America. Kurt, I think we're on the rise side now of your book.
Vince, we certainly are. And since we have a Conan theme, when the Democrats ask me what they should do and how they lost and how they were so utterly rejected by America, all I can say is contemplate this on the tree of woe.
Isn't it amazing? And so this week, all we're getting is just screeching, like I just played for you, just screeching. And then when you ask these Democrats, like, hey, you want to take an inventory of what just happened? They say, yeah, we figured it out. We hate the voters. The voters are awful people. That's the conclusion, it seems.
They're literally doing the Seymour Skinner, no, it's the children who are wrong meme. It's amazing. This is literally the meme election aftermath, where every hackneyed, ridiculous, and terrible reaction is the one that they wholeheartedly and unironically adopt. It's beautiful. And let's be really clear. I don't want to help them. I mean, you got guys like Scott Jennings, who's a national treasure, sitting there and explaining to the 15 communists on the panel with him on CNN why they're wrong and why they lost, and the other side doesn't want to hear it. I don't want to take a chance that one of the Democrats is smart and will go, let me think about this, change, and next time be competitive. No. Double down. It's the voters. They're transphobes. That is the thing.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the few Democrats who are willing to say something true out loud right now are just they're absolutely running into it, because Seth Moulton told the New York Times this week that he doesn't want his daughters being run over by men in sports, and that Democrats shouldn't be scared to say that. And today, the Boston Globe reports that his campaign manager and his PAC director just resigned because they're angry at him. So even the guy who tells the truth, the Democrats start fighting that guy.
Well, Seth Moulton, who was a United States Marine, basically sold his dignity to become a leftist, and now he's like surprised that he's a member of the kind of party you have to sell your dignity to be a part of. Oh. Look, I have no pity for them. They put themselves in this position. They chose to be in this position. They treated us with contempt and disdain and condescension for no discoverable reason. I mean, if I'm going to be talked down to by someone who thinks he's my superior, he should be my superior. But all these people are my inferiors. They're just bad people, unaccomplished and dumb. And this totally serves them right.
Yeah, that is sort of a feature, isn't it? Which is all of these people who say, I'm important, I have this title, and then they lecture you, and meanwhile, none of them have actually earned the respect that leadership requires.
Yeah, I look at them, a bunch of sexually dysfunctional wine women and men who can't do push-ups, and it's like, who are you people? But here's the thing: in retrospect, are any of us conservatives shocked that we beat these people? I mean, did we think that in the end these are the folks who are going to do us in? This band of fussy sissies and whining, aspiring HR directors, these were the people who were going to put a stake in the heart of the United States of America? I don't think so.
Yeah, although I will say that the efforts to stop Trump have been the most aggressive that we've ever seen in any American political context. I mean, There was, the efforts to imprison him, to remove him from ballots. He was shot during the campaign. There was another attempted assassination that we're aware of. That they were endless. And so I think a lot of us were worried that he wouldn't be able to get back despite the fact that he had popular support.
Well, that's the thing. Trump's a real man. He's tough. He just, I mean, look, they tried to put him in jail for the rest of his life after framing him. And then when that didn't work, they tried to kill him twice. They shot him. And he's like, nah, you're not going to stop me. And they're like, well, now we're all out of ideas, except we're just going to call him racist again.
Yeah. Putin, Vladimir Putin today apparently said that he congratulated Donald Trump and called him manly. Was very impressed with the way that he reacted to the assassination attempt. And I read that today, and I was like, he's right. Putin's totally right. I mean, the left thinks that this is some big own, like, oh, yeah, look at this. Putin and Trump, love fest. They're colluding again. No, Putin's right. The reaction that Trump had to being shot in the head, that was manly. I agree with that.
No, he was completely right. Look, here's the thing. A guy like Putin, who's a bad guy, he was a KGB colonel, he's a scummy dictator, you're not going to convince him that, that he's that he's a sexist and he needs to rethink everything. The only way you stop a guy like that is to put him on the ground. You got to knock some teeth out. Trump will knock some teeth out. These people, I mean, they may give you a vicious pinch, but otherwise they're essentially harmless. They're just running their mouths. This is the problem, Vince. We've raised a generation of our ruling class that has gone through their entire life never having been in a fist fight. Yeah,
that's a huge issue. It's humbling. Yeah. You need at least one of those. I would say young men could probably use at least one of those. So
you should win one and lose one, and that gives you a different perspective about reality.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what do we do now? How do we? Is your plan to slip the glove off and backhand them? How do we handle this?
Well, look, we at this time they're weak and they're vulnerable and they're scared and frightened and sad. And I think this is the perfect time to double down on our abuse and mockery of them. I think we need to Nigel Tufnell it and turn it down to 11. A lot of people tell me, Vince, you shouldn't kick someone when he's down, but I think that's like the best time to kick them because then you have a choice of where you kick them in the face, you kick them in the the knee, you kick them in their shriveled and pathetic microgenitals. You've got options.
Yeah, and they're less apt to be a threat to you if they're on the ground than curled up in the fetal position.
Well, exactly. Look, I wrote that at Town Hall. We won. Now we should act like it.
Definitely.
My God, I see these people. Oh, the first thing we should do is pardon Hunter Biden. What? The instincts of some of these people. The first thing we should do is help a criminal out by squandering political capital for the benefit of some people who just called us Nazis. No. How about we win?
So what does this look like, do you think, from President Trump's perspective? So he's coming into office. He's already had successes, by the way. He got Mexico to stop the wave of humanity flowing north by threatening them with tariffs earlier this week. Today, the EU announced that they'd like to start buying some more American natural gas instead of Russia's. I mean, these are all big wins, and Trump's not even in office yet. What should he do with that power as he returns?
Well, the first thing he should do is staff correctly, and he's well on his way. Picking Susie Wiles, who did just a great job on his campaign, and Susie Wiles is someone who I helped fight her when during the Ronna McDaniel thing, and she managed to get Ronna McDaniel reinstated and reelected, and then cut Ronna McDaniel's throat when Ronna showed herself being terrible, particularly after Jennifer Van Laar's exposés in the red state. And she's cold and ruthless and tough. I hear she is actually a really nice person, but she knows how to get things done. I think that's great. He's got somebody serious in there as chief of staff.
Yeah.
Now he needs to pick no more Rex Tillersons. Let's get a Rick Grinnell in there. My God, Grinnell as Secretary of State. Can you imagine? We need a great defense secretary. I'm thinking former NSA Robert O'Brien would be unbelievable. An ex-lawyer, an ex-Los Angeles trial lawyer like me, and just a genius. My gosh, there's so many great, and there's so many other great people. I mean, if we could see Attorney General Mike Davis, I would just be, oh my God.
Hey, by the way, he did. I think somebody told him, like, hey, Mike, you got to tone it down a little bit. Everyone thinks you're part of the campaign. And so he tweeted something in the last 24 hours. He's like, guys, I'm not going to be a part of the administration. I'm not going to be AG, but I do support Trump like crazy. So he's trying to make sure everybody knows that he's just freelancing, as he says he wants to throw everyone's fat ass in prison.
And this is beautiful, and it means something, because now you have the people helping Trump who are not Scaramucci's or Omarosos or ridiculous clowns who are just going to get in trouble. You got guys who go, hey, I'm going to do this in a sensible way that's going to support the president and put my interests second. So big kudos to Mike Davis. He's a great guy. He is
a great guy. I love having him on the show. He's got a lot of great insights too. And Susie Wiles, one thing I'm struck by about her is that not only I'm hearing all these things about how what you just said, that she can be ruthless, but she's a great person. That's a good combination. But also, President Trump respects her because she is the rare person who, in this world, approaches him and gives him advice that has nothing to do with her own ego and is entirely about his mission. And he understands that, and that advice has proven useful for certainly his reelection and the way that he conducted it. And as a result, I think he's very endeared to her because she's got this track record of success, and she's not actually looking to undermine him. She's looking to offer him the kind of advice that leads him to the outcomes he desires.
Well, here's a fun fact about Susie Wiles. I wouldn't recognize her if she was walking down the street. Now, I saw her on video a couple days ago. She's a lovely woman. But I don't recognize her. She's not out there making it about her. She's making it about the movement, which is like triples down on how this is such a great idea. Imagine somebody in Washington who avoids the camera to get the job done rather than runs to it.
Well,
that's awesome.
I think it's awesome. And one other example of how this actually manifested itself during the campaign, if you remember when President Trump was stepping up to the microphone each day outside of the courthouse in New York, he would do it before and after each day of court, which was so unfair and unjust and out of control.
Oh, disgusting.
Trump would make a statement, but he wouldn't take any questions from the press at all. He would just make a statement, whatever he wanted to say. He just said whatever he wanted, but he wouldn't take any questions from the press. I heard later that was Susie's idea. That go ahead, say whatever you want. Just don't let the press lead you into some stupid hellhole. Just like straight up, just say whatever you want, then walk away. And he did it, and it was a huge success.
She's the Trump whisperer. Look, here's one of the big things that we don't hear about because we haven't been hearing about it. Trump, we didn't get a "Hey, Rosie O'Donnell is fat" tweet every day to have us chase our tail about. We had a few little Trump said issues, but most of it was complete nonsense. I mean, there was nothing to them, and there were a lot fewer of them. And it's because Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita created a highly disciplined campaign plan that Trump bought into. She could tell Trump, hey, we should do this, and Trump would do it. And, the results, you can't argue with them. I mean, look at this victory. This is huge.
It's huge. Well, if you'd like to revel in it even more, you should read Kurt Schlichter's column this week. The headline, "We won and we need to act like it." You can find it in Townhall. That's where you find Kurt every day. Kurt, thank you very much. Great to talk to you as always, sir. All right, let's take a call. I've got Val calling in from Annapolis now, line one. Hello, Val. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Happy Friday.
Same to you.
Happy third day of post-election. Let's face it, those women who are doing the 4B movement and they're like chopping off their hair and everything, nobody's having sex with them anyway. And
hey, wait a second. Hold up. Before people don't know what the 4B movement is. The 4B movement is this movement that apparently started in Korea, and you have American Democrat women who are posting to TikTok this week that they're joining the 4B movement, and which, in other words, they're promising abstinence because they don't get to abort children. Do I understand this correctly?
Yeah, and they're chopping off their hair. They're not going to have sex. Probably the same. Not going to have sex with conservative men or just sex in general. Who knows? But anyway, I mean, they've done us all a favor because it just means that conservative women are going to be the only ones procreating, and we're going to have more conservatives than liberals anyway. In addition to that, they're just putting Planned Parenthood, the abortion clinic, and the abortion doctors out of business. So it's a win-win all the way around.
I know. I kind of want to donate now. I love. Is there a place I can donate? That's awesome. I do love the concept is that the freak out is, oh my God, we don't want to have all these abortions. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? We're gonna do abstinence. well, that's great. Actually, what a great idea. The world really is getting better. Let's see. I guess we hit bottom. We're on the way up with any luck. Thank you, Val. Val, all sorts of wise observations. Coming up, some more observations. Remember when the left was saying that Trump was a threat to democracy, a fascist, the whole planet was going to end? What happened to that? What was that? Next, I'm going to play some audio for you of these Democrats who are trying to reckon with the bill of goods that they were sold. They're detecting that there were lies involved. Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 5:35 here. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us, 888-630-9625. 888-630-WMAL. You know that radio show, The Breakfast Club, where everybody makes their pilgrimage during a political campaign? They talk to a guy who calls himself Charlemagne the God, real name Leonard. Well, remember, during the campaign, we played clips from that show a bunch just to take you into their world, what they were up to. And it was funny because all these times you had callers calling in, black Americans would call in and they'd say, actually, I'm kind of with Trump. I'm not with Kamala. And then Charlemagne would fight with them. And then as the campaign got closer and closer and closer, he just kept on insisting, you got to vote for Kamala. You got to stick with Kamala. That was his position. And they didn't, it turns out. And so he's been receiving calls from all sorts of people this week in the wake of the election. Here's one of the calls into the Breakfast Club. And one caller saying, if Trump's successful here, maybe black Americans everywhere should think about voting for Republicans going forward.
Hello, who's this?
This is D'Angelo from Detroit, man. What's going on?
What up, Doe? What's going on, D'Angelo? Get it off your chest, brother.
Man, I just want to say, bro, that we not a monolith, you know what I'm saying? Black people think by themselves. And I feel like it's not a blame on this Democratic Party what happened. I feel like at the end of the day, why we lost, I feel like it's the Democratic Party the reason why we lost, man. They promised us and promised us and promised us, but we never get nothing in return, man. And it's a new day and a new age, and I feel like, you know what I'm saying, as black people, we should now demand everything we want before that we give up our vote, man. We've been sitting around too long and just getting the crumbs. But now we need everything we ask for us to vote for him, man. And maybe it's a good thing that Trump did win, because we can see if he really piggyback off Obama economy, because he can bring us out of this economy, and we can see what the Republicans do. So at the end of the day, if he do bring us out of the economy, we can look at it and be like, maybe we can switch parties now, or maybe do something different. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Measure him by the results. If he delivers, then maybe more people should vote for Republicans like Trump, or at least people who actually execute the Trump agenda. It's kind of an obvious thing. That's cool. Love to hear that. Also, Charlemagne himself, Leonard himself, raised this week after the election. He noticed that Democrats, or at least the establishment Democrats, the ones who'd been saying Trump's a threat to democracy, democracy's on the ballot, have kind of quieted that criticism in the wake of President Trump's victory. And Leonard thinks that's a little bizarre.
I will say this. I'm glad everybody's having a sense of optimism, because the reality is we have no choice, because we're here now. Donald J. Trump is going to be the 47th president of the United States of America, like it or not. And we all hope for the best for this country. That's all we can do. But don't y'all find it strange that now that he's won, They're not calling him a threat to democracy. They're not calling him a fascist. I mean, damn, on Monday.
They're not calling him anything.
They can't.
On Monday, they was just calling him that. I would think that, if you really believe that, then somebody's speech would be about how America effed up and how things are about to be really bad.
Leaving that man
He's
alone.
the most powerful man in the world now.
Well, it just makes you wonder how much of it did they really believe, or how much of it was just politics.
Now,
So.
Yeah, I mean, come on now, dude. That guy, so Leonard saying he didn't detect that hustle beforehand? He didn't detect that this was a lie beforehand? Come on. He's smart enough to know. I'm glad he's calling it out now, but he's pointing to that. He's saying, look, it's a scam. It's a scam. He's not going quite so far as to declare it, but he's raising questions. Boy, it sure seems like a scam. Yeah, that's because it is. It's a scam. They knew it. They knew it all along. Trump's no threat to democracy. In fact, this week he's the fulfillment of it. Trump took a bullet for democracy. And the vile rhetoric of the left towards Trump truly led to the attempts on his life, which imagine where our country would be right now if Trump had actually been assassinated on the 13th of July. I'm so grateful that he wasn't. But what a disaster for our country that would have been. So here we are. So even the Breakfast Club now that the stakes are lower and the election's over, saying, hey, that threat to democracy chatter, that was nonsense. Turns out, Mark is in Virginia Beach now, line 2. Hello, Mark. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hello, Vince. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Mark, what's on your mind today?
So I read an article that says that a lot of the Democrats want to blame Joe Biden for this disaster of an election for Harris. Mm-hmm. But I want to say that he had a lot of help. And then this is the case of all the people that helped ruin this election. First, Joe Biden was put on that stage to debate Trump, and we all saw that he is unfit. They hid it from us, and they did it anyhow. And then Nancy Pelosi stabbed him in the back and kicked him to the curb. Then the Democratic Party installed Harris and ignored all the primary votes that he received. They just kicked that stuff to the curb. Then they went and they got that disaster called Walz for a vice president. Then she started calling us fascists and Nazis. Then they went and they got that doggone, the Obamas, who are not a movement. They're just two personalities. The MAGA movement is something that moved half of the country. The Obamas can't move a stone off the road. Anyhow, then they started insulting black men. Of all people, they went and insulted black men for not voting for Harris. Then Biden shows back up at the very end and calls us garbage. That's how they lost the doggone election, and now they can cry in their Wheaties and go kick rocks.
You're right about all of that. You're right about that. One thing I will say, I started the show mentioning today that there's some reporting that Nancy Pelosi is angry that Joe Biden came out right away and endorsed Kamala because she wanted to have a process that figured out a way to get rid of Kamala. She didn't say those words, but she wanted an open primary to get rid of her. And so it sounds like there was some infighting about whether or not that would take place, meaning just the coronation of Kamala, and Biden may have done it out of spite right after they yanked him out of the race. So one way or the other, you're correct. This all led to the outcome we just saw. And it's not just that. The biggest picture item, of course, is the damage that they wreaked on the economy, on this country. So voters were coming out not just because of the shenanigans they saw during the campaign season, but because their lives were materially worse as a result of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's a very basic thing. On the fundamentals, they deserve to lose. And then, of course, all the theatrics made it all the more clear.
They were a 4-year disaster to this country, and Americans woke up and said, no more. And on the Putin issue, Putin came out and said what you said earlier, that Trump showed himself strong. When you're going to deal with the dictators of the world, you have to be strong. And they have to see that, hey, this guy is a different animal. He's a beast. And we better wake up and pay attention because he ain't putting up with the crap no more.
I don't.
Go Donald Trump.
I think you're totally right. Go Donald Trump. And yeah, that's a great call. Thank you, Mark. And I think Mark's right about just the fact is there's no way Putin saw that and thought to himself anything but, damn, that guy's tough. That guy's tough. That's what we all thought. How many veterans do you know who were like, man, that was impressive. That was impressive. Trump just pops right back up. Fight, shot in the head. It's unreal. Hey, speaking of the damage the Biden administration has done to the country, the Daily Wire has a not shocking and yet appalling story out today about the Biden administration's use of FEMA in the wake of these devastating hurricanes in the United States. You ready for this? Listen to this headline. Exclusive. FEMA official ordered relief workers to skip houses with Trump signs. A FEMA official ordered relief workers who work for you to skip houses that had Trump signs. In other words, Trump campaign signs. A federal disaster relief official ordered workers to bypass the homes of Donald Trump supporters as they surveyed the damage caused by Hurricane Milton in Florida, according to internal correspondence obtained by the Daily Wire and confirmed by multiple federal employees. A FEMA supervisor told workers in a message to, quote, avoid homes advertising Trump, as they canvassed Lake Placid, Florida, to identify residents who could qualify for federal aid. Internal messages viewed by the Daily Wire reveal. The supervisor, Marnie Washington, relayed this message both verbally and in a group chat used by the relief team. Multiple government employees told the Daily Wire. The government employees told the Daily Wire that at least 20 homes with Trump signs or flags were skipped from the end of October and into November due to the guidance, meaning they were not given the opportunity to qualify for FEMA assistance. Images that were shared with the Daily Wire show that houses were skipped over by the workers who wrote into the government system messages, such as, quote, Trump sign, no entry, per leadership. It is unclear whether the same guidance was issued elsewhere in the country. The employees were a part of a Department of Homeland Security surge capacity force team, meaning they volunteered from other DHS agencies to help an understaffed FEMA as it dealt with a second major hurricane in a span of just a few weeks. Quote, I know they're short-staffed. I thought we could go help and make a difference, one of the employees said. When we got there, we were told to discriminate against people. It's almost unbelievable to think that somebody in the federal government would think that's okay. The employees said it felt wrong to discriminate against Trump supporters when they were at their, quote, most vulnerable. Quote, I volunteered to help disaster victims, not discriminate against them, the employee said. It didn't matter if people were black, white, Hispanic, for Trump, for Harris. Everyone deserves the same amount of help. The guidance came as the Biden administration was criticized over its sluggish response to Hurricane Helene in rural areas across the country. In Roan Mountain, Tennessee, for example, locals told the Daily Wire it took nearly 2 weeks for FEMA to show up. The town is located in Carter County, which voted 81% for Trump on Tuesday. The FEMA agents ordered not to help houses with Trump signs were operating in Highlands County, a deep red area located in south central Florida that backed Trump by 70% on Tuesday. It was hit with tornadoes, torrential wind and rain, and flooding when Milton hit in October. In the chat, Washington said that it would be, quote, best practice to, quote, avoid homes advertising Trump, according to photos of the messages viewed by the Daily Wire. No explanation was given for this guidance, which included other recommendations like telling the workers to, quote, practice de-escalation and preventative measures, and to, quote, avoid high-salt diets and coffee. What? Photos from the system used by federal relief workers to track what homes they visited showed that relief workers followed Washington's guidance. Several addresses were marked, quote, not able to access property, with listed explanations such as, quote, Trump sign, no entry per leadership. per leadership, no stop, Trump flag, Trump sign, and Trump sign, no contact per leadership. They have a picture here of the system where they, I guess it included an address where they marked this off. And I can't tell if this is like a Google Street View photo or it's an actual DHS FEMA photo. But it's a picture of a home with a Trump flag literally on a flagpole. It's just signaling their support for President Trump in 2024. So the home was skipped for emergency assistance. The Biden administration, officials within FEMA, had ordered rescue workers to skip the homes of Trump supporters. I want to remind you, just imagine again what this would look like if it was completely reversed, if Trump was president of the United States, Biden homes were being skipped. It would be a scandal you never hear the end of in the legacy press. What I'm reading to you right now, you're only going to hear here and in the Daily Wire and in the conservative media, who will rightly give this the attention it deserves. But outside of that, the propaganda press, they bury this stuff. They don't want you to know about this. And it's all the more reason that Donald Trump had to come back. You know, all of this stuff about what I played earlier, Charlemagne the God, Leonard, saying that Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump's a tyrant. Trump's a fascist. Trump's going to abuse his power. He's going to hurt people. That's not who Trump is. Trump had an entire presidency where he served us well. And the left did everything they could to undermine it. Trump's coming back with the same intention and a more firm resolve. And stories like this are a crystal clear explanation as to why the American people want him back. Because they're tired of this. They're tired of not only being hurt on a broad level by their government, but sometimes in a focused way by their government. The Biden administration has been attacking their political opponents, literally. And not just the people whose names you know, but the people whose names you don't. In Florida, they were skipping the homes in the midst of a disaster of people who flew Trump flags. It's par for the course for them. That's what he's saying on CNN.
Liberal. And so I hope that Joe Biden makes the next 10 weeks as consequential as he can. I don't care about drawing outside the lines or what Republicans may think about it. This is within your purview. You can actually do it, and you should do it. And, you know, one more thing, John, is you have a hell of a vice president right there who has a legal pedigree to sit on the Supreme Court and let Republicans go crazy and hate. I'm even mentioning that option.
You floating? Are you floating? This is 7:39 a.m. on the East Coast. Did Bakari Sellers just float Vice President Kamala Harris as a potential Supreme Court nominee?
Not only am I floating it, but I want to stir up everything. I want people's heads to explode this morning, so we go into the weekend just knowing that the chaos has not ended just yet.
Yeah, that's great. That's the kind of tantrum we like. You keep doing that, Bakari Sellers. Bakari Sellers is not a smart human being. How come they keep putting him on television? He'll say anything. Oh, that's the reason. That's the reason. Yeah. Although I will say, never underestimate the left's capacity to do something very stupid very quickly. It could happen. We'll see. I don't know. You think Biden actually nominates Kamala Harris to be on the Supreme Court? Whatever makes them feel better. Stop it, though. We can't let that happen. Hey, have a fantastic weekend. Love you out there. It's just been such a great week. You should celebrate this weekend. We'll reconvene next. The great one, Mark Levin, up here on WMAL.